dear learners, welcome you all again for the session module 4 on the topic talent management skills add-on courses sponsored by Department of Business Administration. Here is the instructor S.A.Rahmath Amina Begum, Head and Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, Wow Wajiha Women's College. Let's quickly go into the topic. So we are in the mid statement that talent management is essential for an HR manager, isn't it? So here the HR manager needs to know what are the skills required for a candidate as a talent. So the talent acquisition is the first one. Here the recruiter needs to know what is the skills required for an employees to be recruited. So let's start with the module. So this module compiles of few skills. Number one is presentation skills, communication skills, leadership skills, and self-branding skills. So the HR need to know the skills required for an employee. How you can understand whether the particular candidate have a following skills? Let's see one by one. And whether you are in the position of entering into the organization, you need to have these following skills. So the skills start with the presentation. So the presentation skills comprises of engaging, informative, transformative, education or instructive presentation. You need to know the types of presentation. For instance, if it is a public speaking or a tone of voice, you need to know the body language, the creativity and the delivery sense. So employees, those you are going to recruit, should have the presentation skills. So what is the presentation skill all of about? The presentation skill have certain types. The types are as follows. The first one is informative. Whether the presenter is so informative, whether he is giving a proper information to the audience in the sense maybe the superior or the subordinate in here. Then whether the presenter is instructional, whether he is giving instruction. Of course the presenter or the employees will be there who has to work with a team. There he has to give instruction for the team. The third one is arousing. The presentation skill has to create interest among the people who are listening to the presentation. So it should create the interest, that is called arousing. Take for example, the presenter is a sales personality. So here the sales personnel has to create the interest among the customers to buy their product. Persuasive. So the same thing, same example I'm quoting here, a sales manager have to convince the audience or have to convince the customers to buy his product. Here the presentation skills plays a main role. So being a HR manager, you need to see whether the employees do have presentation skills, whether it may be informative oriented or instructional oriented, arousing, or he has to know how to convince the people. So these are the types of presentation. To be an effective presenter, take for example the employee you're recruiting, he has to make a presentation by the following ways. He has to prepare with the visuals. He has to add with the visuals. Take for example, you're quoting with a presentation. You would have seen a lot of medical representatives showcasing their products to the doctors with the aid they do have. That is called slide boards. They do have to showcase the tablets and all other drugs to the doctor. Before making presentation, the presenter needs to know or he has to practice a lot. Practice makes a man perfect. Yeah, that's the right thing. He has to make practices so the presentation move on well. He has to start with the quote or stories. The quote or stories will impress the audience. Take for example, if a presenter, the sales executive is talking with the customers, accordingly he has to make a short stories or he has to make a short quote. He should not take much of a time of a customer because time is very precious. At the same time, a public speaker, here he can give a or he shall give a short stories to attract the audience to keep in touch. Then body language. The presenter's body language should be watched very keenly because he is in the middle and everyone eyes or limelight will be on the presenter. So the presenter should be very careful on his body language. Before making presentation, A presenter needs to know the audience to whom he is going to present, whether he is going to present to the superiors or the subordinates or the colleagues he is working with off. So these are the tips you need to know to make your presentation very effective. And while a HR manager, he has to see whether the employee he is going to recruit have a effective presentation skills. Next, we can move on to the next skills called communication skills. So morally, communication means just an exchange of ideas, thoughts, emotions, informations, instructions, suggestions and the like from sender to the receiver. We all know this about communication skill. Now, we need to know how to recruit an employee who is having a good communication skills. For that, the recruiter needs to know the 7 C's of communication while recruiting the employees. The employees, their communication should be very clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete and courteous. Clear, he has to be very clear about what the thing he is going to deliver. Concise, be brief. A communicator should be brief on his topic or the message he is going to give. Concrete, a concrete information need to be given. It should not be a fake. It should be very concrete or very confident in his deliverance of communication. And of course it should be correct. No fault finding or no error should have in his communication. Coherent, coherent means very closeness. What the topic he is going to communicate with the in an interview or with his subordinate, he has to have a coherent, that is a closeness of what he is going to say. Complete, we need to have for a communication should not be a withstanding one, it should be a complete thing. And courteous, while making communication you have to use the proper appropriate words like kindly, and you should be in the position of empathy. Don't use harsh words while making communication. Here the HR manager needs to have a track with the candidate who is going to be recruited by the following communication skills. So the recruiter has to see the candidates who is having a clear communication, whether his communication or her communication is concise, concrete, coherent, complete and courteous. How a good communication skill should have. The good communicator normally will have a listening skills. He will be very conscious about what he is going to communicate with his audience. And of course, body language is necessary to note it off. The candidate has to have a confidence. This can be measured by the way he is communicating or she is communicating with him. Take for example, in an interview, what are the things you need to remember? You have to have a question maybe shoot to you. You need to listen properly, very conscious about the question what is shoot to you, and the body language you are utilizing there, the confidence level you do have, and you need to accept what are the suggestions or feedbacks given with an open mind. And you need to have a correct medium of communication, and of course getting feedback is the best way of keeping you in a right path and to move into the next level. So the HR manager should see the candidate's communication by listening, consciousness, his body language, his confidence, whether the candidate is open-minded, whether he is be able to do in a right medium, and whether he is getting a feedback. So we are next pass on to the next skill. We call it as a leadership skill. So here leaders is the one among the participant, one among the group, isn't it? So here what is the skills of a leader? Goal setting is the first one. Every leader has to work on its goal of an organization. This can be aroused or this can be watched from the recruiter point of view about the candidate who has applied for the job of your organization. You need to find, the HR manager has to find whether the employee is delegated. Take for example, the employee is a fresher. How can you identify whether he is delegated or not? You can ask questions when you are studying in your college life. What are the delegated work given to you by your faculty members? How did you take decision? So these type of questions make a HR manager to know about the candidate who has going to be inside your organization, how he is communicating, how he is keeping his time properly, whether he has an ability to solve the problem where arises. So whether do he have or she have a rapport building, whether he has a good communication or good rapport with his the ex employer, or when he is or she is a fresher, whether he has a good rapport with the faculties where he or she studied, whether she has or he has a strategic thinking emotionally, whether the particular candidate is intelligence in emotion, whether he or she is optimistic. So these are the leadership skills a candidate should possess while entering into the organization. Conflict resolution, how the candidate is balancing the work life with the personal and professional. So you need to ask the question related to this so that you can identify the right person for the right job. And the responsibility do they have, whether do they participate in any program or any things happen in his for the happen in his former organization or the college he or she studied. So these are the types of skills required for an employee in your organization. So to test this, you need to ask questions related to this point of view, and so that you can select the right candidate. That is a talent acquisition. You can acquire the talented employees in your organization. You can also become a leader. It starts with a student leader. If you're a student, this is the right choice. So if you want to become a leader as a student, you need to be authentic. So you need to be true with your with your co with your peer members, with your co-members, and with your teachers. Here first, listen. Listen what they expertise says about you. So listening is the main and major role. You need to know that listening skills is a great skills for entire team. Okay, keep on open minded. So you need to be open minded to accept all the experience, or you need to accept what has been taught to you. To be a student leader, you need to listen to your teammates. You need to be very trustworthy. You need to open minded to accept the suggestions, whether it is negative or positive. You need to learn from the mistakes. When you learn from the mistakes, you develop. When you stop learning from the mistakes and when you quit about the problem happen, then you are not a right leader. So being a leader, you need to learn from the mistakes occur. Then seek knowledge from the expectation. You should always have a tendency to transform yourself by accepting the feedbacks, by accepting the knowledge you required only from the experience or from the expertise. You should not stop with what you have learned. That's enough for me as a leader. You should not have this type of attitude always. Next important skills we are going to see about self-branding skills. Self-branding, what do you mean by self-branding? Self-branding, or it can be called as a personal branding. So this means how you present yourself to the world. World here means through your presentation, through your communication, the work assigned to you in an organization, personally or professionally. So when you're making a candidate to be selected in an organization, you need to know whether the particular candidate or is having a self-branding skills, whether he is presenting himself in a right manner, whether he is presenting himself in a pleasant manner, in an admirable manner, or impressive manner. So here you need to test their self-branding skills. How you can test a self-branding skills? You need to know whether the candidate who is in an interview have a good competency, whether he or she has a connectivity, whether he or she has a courage, whether the character is right, whether he is credible. These are the things of skills required for a best branding. So this 5 C's of self-branding is important. If you want to develop yourself, then these are the benefits you're getting from the self-branding. Why you need to know about the self-branding? Because you become very famous in an organization or in a personal life. You can attract the opportunities if you have a good branding skill. You can attract the opportunities will knock at your door when you have a best self branding skills. You can take control over your career. No one can stop from making your career opportunities because you're having a very best self branding. So your career is very clear. You can have a good relationship management. You can have a good relationship with the superior, again subordinate, or a peer group if you have a right brand. Well and good references can be noted in self branding. If you have a good self branding, you can be referred or you can one among the referees. So here your growth has been improved. How your growth has been improved? Because you do have a separate brand for your name or separate brand for your attitude, separate brand in a professional life, and everyone will recognize you both in a personal life and in the professional life because they do have or you do have your own branding, your value, so that people value you and they do accept, they recognize you that you are a best in this, you are a best in presentation, or you are best in cook, or you are best in the specialized thing which you do have. So how can I brand myself? How can you brand yourself? So here is the tip: voice. Voice is a leader. So what do you mean by this voice? So a candidate need to identify his own values. If you want to become a leader, you need to know your strength. That is, you value yourself. Then you need to create your outcomes. After completing, you need to know what is the outcome, why I am studying this, or why I have taken this course or program, why I have chosen this particular field for my career. You need to know the outcome. Then you need to use your own influence. So you need to have your self motivational factors, that is called influence. That may be your own knowledge, that may be your own expertise, that may be differ from the person to person. And of course you should be very courage here. If you are very courage, then think that your brand has been branded very perfectly, and all you wrap it all in your unique expressions, the way you are delivering to the audience, the way you are presenting yourself to the organization, that comes that whether you can be selected as a best leader or not. So being a HR manager, when you are making recruitment, you need to see the particular candidate do brand himself properly. So these are the things you need to know while making a branding. So today's module, we saw about presentation skills, where you have to present, how you have to present, types of presentations, and what are the methods you need to do, how you have to make a best presenter. So these things we saw in the presentation skills. Then we saw about communication skills, how a employee communicate with his superior, subordinate, peer group, and to the audience. So communication skills we saw. Then we passed through the leadership skill, how a leader created, how a leader has to be, and how the skills acquired need to be rectified, how the skills acquired is applicative for his or him or her career opportunities. And last, we saw about the self branding, how we need to brand personally, how we have to project ourselves to the public, both professional and personal. So I think, my dear learners, now you do understand the skills required. Now you also have a tendency that being a HR manager, how you need to identify these skills from the interviewee or from the employee you are going to appoint or from the candidate outside. So whether these skills it is there with the candidate, you can rightly select this type of employees or these type of candidates to your organization, so that your organization will be so productive. So with this, our module ends. For feedbacks and queries, please contact the course instructor. This is Amina and my number has been given. And with this, we end up today's session. Happy learning.